the penultimate, I said this last week because I forgot about this one, the penultimate Sporting Lunchtime Lecture of the season, and perfectly sunny day. It's Spanish sunshine out there, isn't it? But it's like Slav bad in the bloody wind. But anyway, so Rob's going to bring a taste of Spanish sunshine today to talk about his love of Real Betis. He's come all the way from Bury today to give this talk, so give a very warm welcome to Rob.
Thank you. Right, today's talk up there really start with a few acknowledgements, bit of context setting, bit of history, even a few trophies. Few being the operative word, unfortunately, but I'll talk you through every one of them. We'll go on to famous players, managers, characters. There is one character who we could probably do a full lecture on. He's a right character, and we'll talk through him later on. City and Betis, how they are so alike. What else? We've got a bit of Penabetica de Londres, who have changed my life. Whether my wife thinks that's for the better, don't know. And we'll finish off with a hymno de Real Betis. If I'd not been drinking beforehand, I was going to get the whole song up there, but I've forgotten to do it. And it's the wrong time to remember that you've forgotten to do something, isn't it? But c'est la vie. Oh, wrong language. Rightio. So, acknowledgements first of all. I wouldn't have been able to do this talk without this book, The Frying Pan of Spain. Colin Miller. It's about Spain's hottest football rivalry. Yeah, Frying Pan of Spain. And it's wonderful. It's all about us and them, the other lot. You'll get to know who the other lot are. It's wonderful. I would urge anyone who wants to know about Spanish football, but particularly Betis and the other lot, to read that. That's wonderful. The other bit, the Spanish Football Podcast. It's a podcast. You get 2 podcasts a week. You can get more if you pay €4.75. Well, I'm still to pass that on through the finance committee actually. So I'm just on the free ones at the moment, but it's marvellous. Sid Lowe, who writes for The Guardian. Phil Kitramilides, who's also on La Liga football, and a guy called Alex Kirkland. Wonderful listen to, 35, 40 minutes on a Monday, sort of reflecting on the weekend that's just happened. Friday preview, it's wonderful. I would urge anyone to look that one up. So, context setting. How I found them, how they found me, sort of thing. More me finding them. My daughter was studying in Seville, or due to study in Seville, and being dutiful parents, we went out and just checked it out. Fortunately, one of Marie's, my wife's nephews, lived out there, married a girl from Seville, and we'd booked into this hotel rather close to the other lot's ground. Now, I didn't know they were called the other lot at that point, but we'd been around, and on the Sunday morning, Jimmy Riley, the nephew, turns up on the moped. We're going to watch Betis. Now, as when you go on city tours, I don't know about you, but I tend to look for football. I don't know why people go on city tours without wanting to watch a bit of football. So I was more than happy with that. Get on the bike, wearing his wife's helmet, so it did take 10 minutes to get the bloody thing on. And flying down to Benito Villamarin, get off outside a pub, 15 minutes to take the thing off, and pile into the pub for a couple of beers, get into the ground, and then the Betis lot start singing the anthem. Well, it's hairs on the back of your blinking neck thing. It's wonderful. And if I'd sorted out the stuff beforehand, you'd have heard them, but I haven't. So you'll have to look it up on YouTube, blah, 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 Betis. Sorry? Oh, thank you. Save my bacon, as it were. It's wonderful. In the sun, 2 o'clock kick-off in January the 19th, I think it was. Wait, son. 2019, something like that. I've run out of order already, and we've only got 15 more slides to do. 20th of January 2019, Betis against Girona. Yeah, so we've had the anthem. I'm already well into it. We win 3-2, 94th minute penalty. Sergio Canales, nice. It's always good. Get back on the bike, pile back into town. A few more beers, I was sold. Absolutely sold. Loved it. Just kept on, wife would be going, what are you looking at, Betis? Yeah. And it actually turned up 2022. So you know how phones know their owner. So I'm flying through Facebook, comes up Betis against Marseille in Chesterfield for 10 quid. So, we hadn't been out for a while, so I mentioned it to Maria. I said, you fancy Chesterfield? Day out, Oh, Betis are playing. So took the day off, obviously, and went to Chesterfield. We're outside the new ground. There's a shopping complex, bars and eateries and whatever. And we sat down at this table, and a pint, eating a pizza. This guy comes up, he goes, Betis, English, why? So I explained to him, daughter studies Seville, went and seen him, blah, blah, blah. He goes, oh, turns out he's president, Penabetica de Londres, yeah? Oh, that's good. Within 5 minutes, I paid 74 quid, signed all 4 members of the family up, got four scarves, but importantly, we got access to tickets. Well, tickets are just like, I've been all over Europe, but I probably haven't watching them. But I've been to Scotland, and Belgium, and Spain or whatever. But it's wonderful. I would urge anyone to have a look at the Penabetica de Londres. It's wonderful. If you're down in London, get out to Sheephaven Bay. That's their adopted home. They've got a room in there, scarves all over the place. We played the other lot in the El Gran Derby last week, 1-2-1, carnage. It was just wonderful. First time we've beaten the other lot since 2018 in La Liga. Oh, just wonderful, wonderful. Right, Joe. I've dried up already. Oh dear. How long have we got, Dave, on this? Is it? Oh dear. We're only on slide 2. Right, Joe. Reasons why you should perhaps support Betis and not the other lot. Looking round here, we're based in Bradford. The other lot play in white. Need I say any more? Yeah. I've talked about Betis, Marseille. Spanish football. Just a bit about Spanish football. People go, oh, Tim Pot, Tom and Noddy. They've only got Barca, Real Madrid. They do have Barca and Real Madrid, but actually, teams from La Liga, won 9 of the 10 Super Cups, European Super Cups, between 2009 and 2018. Barca won 3, Real Madrid 3, easy for you to say. Atletico Madrid won 3, yeah? So, I mean, it isn't just those two. And 17 Spanish clubs progressed to quarter-finals of European trophies between 98 and 2018. Now, 17 is a decent effort, yeah? It isn't just Barca, Real Madrid. There's a hell of a lot of depth there. I feel like I'm coming up with excuses as to why Betis haven't really won a whole load, but it's there because it is, those two are something else in any case, but there's a lot of depth there. So it's it's decent stuff. Rightio. So, bit of history about it. Now, I'd love to have started off by saying Betis were the first formed team, you know, sort of, they were formed before the other lot. Unfortunately, they weren't. Betis were formed in 1907, as I say there. The other lot were formed in 1905, so they sort of beat us to it. But there is a bit of a quirk here in terms of, so they were formed in 1905. They celebrated the centenary in 2005. I was an accountant, so, you know, that not necessarily a very good one, but I know that centenary should be 2005. They celebrated it, yeah? But then in 2015, they decided that they'd actually been formed in 1890. That's probably not great character, is it? That? It's not the best of thing you want to have. In fact, the fans of Recreativo de Huelva, who are the oldest club in Spain, they were formed in 1889. They held up a banner and it said, in 2005, SFC said they were founded in 1905. In 2015, they said it was 1890. In 2025, they will say they founded the Catholic Church. Sevilla, it's the only time I couldn't say the other lot because this was quote, direct quote. Sevilla do not have any shame or dignity. So, I rest my case, my lord. Yeah, we are Betis. Yeah, right here. So yes, originally founded in 1907, called España Bolompi, founded on 15 Calle Cervantes. Now then, when I found this out, I was chuffed to bits because we'd stayed in a hotel on Calle Cervantes. Now I was buzzing when I saw this. Marie, she didn't quite understand just how wonderful that was that we'd stayed there, where, you know, don't quite understand them, you know, but c'est la vie. Some students, polytechnic students studying medicine, founded it. By the time we got to 1909, it morphed into Sevilla Bolompi to try and make it a bit more about the place that they were formed in. Distinctly reflects the club's origins, I should have said first of all. Interestingly, the 8th statute on their formation actually notes all foreigners who wish to play for the club will be able to do so. I sort of say that in the context of the likes of Athletic Club Bilbao. Their motto is con cantera y afición no hace falta importación. Bet you never thought you'd hear me talking Spanish here, would you? Some of you have known me a long time and probably, yeah, wouldn't expect that. So that's with homegrown talent and local support, foreigners are not needed. It's unbelievable that Athletic Club are still playing without anyone, you know, sort of from outside. They are one of 3, I think, teams in La Liga who've never been relegated. It's just unbelievable and it's fantastic sort of thing. We went to San Mamés a couple of years ago and the passion is just wonderful. We did win 1-0, which made the passion even better. But no, it was fantastic. Teams like Real Sociedad always used to do that. I think they broke it with John Aldridge in 1989. There's a story about him driving down the street, there's some graffiti. He said to the lad who was driving him, "What does that mean?" And the guy said, "Foreigners not welcome." So that was a kind of, you know, they wanted players from their homeland, as it were, playing. Aldridge sorted them out in terms of he scored loads of goals. He tended to score lots of goals against Barca and Real Madrid. he was bought T-bone steaks for every goal he scored. That's the kind of club I'd have liked to have played for. Yeah. So, let's have a look. History continued. So, 1907, I said they'd formed into Sevilla Balompi. Two schools of thought, because this team, Betis Football Club, had appeared. They merged with Sevilla Balompi on the 6th of December 1914, or Sevilla board agreed the merger. On the 8th of December, the Betis board agreed that. Now then, 8th of December is my birthday, so I was even more bloody ecstatic when I found this out. And Marie still wasn't. She didn't quite buy into this this was meant to be type of malarkey. But it's one of those things. So Balompi, Duncan had asked this earlier on in terms of where's the Balompi from? It's a translation of football in Spanish apparently. And the lads who started it all off were keen to, sort of their roots, and so Balompi made more sense than football or football. The Betis is derived from the Roman name for the Guadalquivir River that flows through Seville, Roman name for it. So we now start to understand the Betis Balompi bit. The Real bit comes in if you were happy to have the king and the monarch as your honorary president, and he accepted that, you're able to call it, Real Betis Balompi. So it became Real Betis Balompi. Let's think. Clearly there are quite a few teams with this Real term in there. At the moment, clearly we've still got Real Madrid, Real Sociedad, Real Zaragoza, Real Oviedo. But there are some who previously had taken on the term Real who no longer do that. So, likes of Celta Vigo, Deportivo La Coruña, Espanyol, Racing Club de Santander, Sporting Gijón, and Recreativo de Huelva, easy for me to say. They don't. In terms of the two schools of thought, it was where did Betis come from? Betis FC. Is it all? Oh no, it's still going. One school of thought was that they were a splinter group from Seville FC or Sevilla FC, who'd some members of Sevilla FC had vetoed a move to sign a lad from Triana. He was currently playing for a team of road workers in Triana, and some of the directors at Sevilla FC, mainly from sort of landowning classes, it's alleged that they believed football belonged to families of certain social relevance, and this guy didn't quite fit in there, and therefore vetoed his signing. They weren't exactly too happy with that, and therefore set up Betis. Second school of thought is that they were set up from a couple of people from Sevilla Balompi, who were the originators, who were a bit frustrated at lack of opportunities and set up the club. So there's back in those days there wasn't the evidence, there weren't the papers and everything, so it's a bit up in the air as to which one it was. I think most people are going for the Sevilla FC version. Throughout the history, there's always been this bit about Sevilla FC being the aristocrats, win everything. Betis don't, whatever. El Liberal, one of the Spanish publications, reporting on the 1918 Campeonato Regional Sur. I'm trying my best in Spanish there, and I think I sound quite good actually, but we'll see. They spoke of the I can't say English now. I'm that blinking Spanish. Speak of aristocratic Sevilla FC taking on plebeian Real Betis. You know, so it tends to be a theme going through the history. Right, yeah. Thank you for that sage advice. We'll find out at the end, won't we? So, what happened after that? Yes, during the Spanish Civil Wars, Second Republic, they lost all organisations lost the sort of real bit. Patronage was sort of nullified for a while, came back later. In 1932, Betis won their first Segunda title, second division, and became the first team from Andalusia to play in La Liga. So we were finally one up on the other lot. 1935 was historic. Betis's first and only La Liga title. Happened with a guy. Now this could be a quiz question. So name an Irishman, or the Irishman, who led Betis to the 1935 La Liga title. So anyone could guess Paddy O'Connell, couldn't they, in terms of that? But it was. So Patrick O'Connell, he was the manager for Betis in that year. They had a squad of about 13 players. They had sort of 6 from Basque Country, 3 from the Canaries. They had 3 from Seville and 1 Almerian native. Coached by Patrick O'Connell. I'd love to be able to say that they won it playing total football, sort of decades before the Dutch invented it and everything. Unfortunately, they didn't. I think it's fair to say the football was pragmatic. They conceded 19 league goals in 22 league games. Big dower, really. Scored 43. So it wasn't the greatest, sort of exhibition of football, but by God, it was effective. So came down to last 2 games, level on points with Real Madrid. Betis were at home against the other lot, and Madrid were away at Barcelona. Now, Madrid had beaten Barcelona 8-2 earlier on in the season, so it wasn't looking great. Thankfully, Barca turned it around, won 5-0, gave Betis a chance, and Betis actually came back twice from goal down to draw 2-2. So we went into the last game, 1 point up. Last game of the season, Madrid were at home against Arenas, who were the team that had already been relegated. They'd finished bottom. Betis were away at Racing Santander. Now then, Patrick O'Connell had managed at Racing Santander before. So people were thinking, wonder whether he's going to call in a few favours. Now, Patrick O'Connell in 1915 had been captain of Manchester United. And Manchester United that season were down at the bottom. Came to last game of the season. You needed to win against Liverpool. And Liverpool and mid-table didn't really mean anything. And that was a game that was, that United won 2-0. And there was apparently quite a lot of money going on. United winning 2-0. So it was 1915. Players playing there knew that they wouldn't be playing next season, World War and everything. And 7 players got done for rigging the result. 3 United, 4 Liverpool, all piled in on 2-0. Never quite proven whether Patrick O'Connell was party to this. He was captain of United at the time. His grandson, Mike O'Connell, said, if I quote, If I can find the blinking thing. 5. Here we go. No, we don't. I can't find. You know when you know it's there, and you can't find it, and you're looking through from one sheet to another, and you still can't find it. Well, I found it finally. His grandson, Mike O'Connell, did confess. I don't know if he was involved or not, but he would have had it in him. He would have loved the intrigue, you know. And it's great. But so in any case, so Patrick had this history with Racing Santander. He apparently popped round to their hotel the night before the final game, and he was told actually that they were on for it because their chairman was a Real Madrid fan, and he told them massive bonus if you beat these lots. So unfortunately, Santander were really going for it. 2 goals in the first 5 minutes. Hello? Yeah. Hello? Hello? Yeah. Hello? 2 goals in the first 5 minutes for Betis. Sorted. We won 5-0. Won it. So it was wonderful. There's a Madrid magazine publication who'd identified out of the 12 teams in La Liga that year that Betis were the favourites for relegation. So it was a cracking performance by the whole team, Patrick O'Connell. So he's lauded. If you mention Patrick O'Connell in Seville, somebody might either hug you or somebody might hit you, because if they're from the other lot, then Patrick O'Connell did actually manage the other lot. So he could have blotted his copybook, but he managed them at a really good time, and they were a decent team, and he managed to get them 2nd, 3rd and 10th. So he actually did a very good job at their place as well, because they could well have won it, and he stopped it. So right here, where else are we? We've done that. That was a league table, just showing that, you know, sort of, yeah, he did rather well. They signed the contracts for Estadio de Heliopoli, which is where they are now, but back in '36 they signed the original contracts to become tenants. They finished 7th the following season. I think about 6 months later they only had 2 of that 13 players still with them. All the Basques, the civil war was just about to break out, all sorts of issues, so they lost a lot of people. We go on after the World War, ended up being relegated to the 3rd division. Now then, what am I? Oh, what's time like? I'm still okay. So they got relegated to the 3rd division, the Tercera, which is the 3rd division. That actually means 3rd in Spanish, so I'm educating you all. But actually, nowadays, 3rd doesn't actually mean 3rd, it means 4th, because they brought in 1977, they brought in a Segunda B as well as a Segunda A. So another good quiz question, when is 3rd not 3rd, it means 4th. So you can take that one away as well. They got relegated, rather coincidentally, at Racing Santander, who were rather more up for it that day, and we ended up in the 3rd division. Got out to the 3rd division in, I think it says 1954. Yes, yeah, 1954 they actually got promoted. At that time they were the first team in Spain to actually win all 3 divisions. So that was another first. And the 7 years, 47 to 54, were a bit of a struggle for the team. They were going around holding raffles to get clothes and food for the players. They were playing a lot around the region and really became close to all the people out there. Colin Miller sums it up quite nicely, really, in terms of No exaggeration to note that many other clubs of lesser resolve would have crumbled under such adversity. And the birth of it should be I missed one, sorry. Real Betis, Manque Pierda, long live Betis, even when they lose. So it became a thing. The Green March was reference to the numbers who supported Betis and went to watch them in those difficult years. There's some quote in, I think it was a magazine or the paper ABC, says the invasion of Cordoba by Betis fans, sizable numbers of travelling fans for a third division encounter, with many, and this takes it back to mixed talk, many cycling the 300 kilometre round trip to Cordoba. So the Green March became a thing. Next one, Benito Villamarin took over as president 1955. He was there until 1965. The important thing there was that he sorted out the purchase of the club from the council in 1961. Council were wanting money over 7 years, fair amount. He offered a smaller amount, but first year got it, and they've been there ever since. He was the ground subsequently been named after him because of all the work he did for them in difficult circumstances. So we then go on to the first Copa del Rey win, 1977, 1-8-7 on penalties. Esnaola, the keeper for Betis, famed because twice he was facing a goal. Had they scored it, we'd have lost it. He saved it twice and then ended up saving the 20th penalty from the opposition goalkeeper. Sorted. That led on to 1977-78, Cup Winners' Cup. Did really well, beat AC Milan, Lokomotiv Leipzig, faced Dynamo Moscow in the quarters, and got shafted really. We went out 0-0 at home, dominated, hit the woodwork, couldn't score, 0-0, still got a chance. Go out to Moscow, arrive in Moscow, get told it's really snowy here. We've moved it to Tbilisi. We'll sort out a plane for you, but you can sleep at the airport. Fair enough. Slept at the airport. Plane finally arrived. No food. Those seats weren't really comfortable for sleeping. Out to Tbilisi. Woeful accommodation, no hot water or heating. And they got beat 3-0. And it wasn't a great surprise, that really, but that's one of those things. But it impacted on them because actually that season they got relegated. This is another one of the things where they're almost like cities. It's sod's law will apply. So they finished third from bottom with two other teams on 30 points. Betis had goal difference -1, Hercules -8, and Espanyol -12. So had it been on goal difference, sorted. It wasn't. It was done on home and away points ratio. So they'd all finished on 30. Betis had won 25 at home, 5 away. The others 24 at home, 6 away. That was deemed to be better, and Betis went down. Thereafter, Copa del Rey 2005, won 2-1 after extra time. One of the notable things there, as with all Spanish clubs, they hold they do a lot with the youth teams, academies. There's nothing that we don't like about Bobby Poynton. Sort of homegrown talent is adored by the fans. That team had 5 starters who come through the academy, three subs, decent effort. John Aloisi, actually, scored for Osasuna in that game. Question to you, who did he play for in Britain, in England? Begins with P, one of them, Pompey. Played for Pompey and Coventry, John Aloisi. Went into the Champions League following year, beat Anderlecht and Chelsea, drew with Liverpool, but ended up losing to Steaua Bucharest. I'm flying through, I'm conscious time is running out. And in 2020, they won the Copa del Rey again. One on penalties. Juan Miranda scored the winning penalty, and we were due in Seville that weekend, and unfortunately arrived on the Sunday, and the game was on the Saturday, and I've regretted it ever since. But the buzz in the city was, well, in one half of the city, was fantastic. Joaquin, who was, I can't remember whether he was captain that day. I think he was captain that day. And he's one of the heroes, and we're going to talk about him a bit later on. Joaquin apparently had said, any player who isn't back home by 5:30 in the morning will get fined. And they parted. They parted. On the Sunday, they were at the church in Seville and everything. They were all looking like they stayed out, so it was good. Recent history, Manuel Pellegrini, who we will all know from Man City, West Ham, blah, 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 became manager in 2020. And it's just been unbelievable, you know, sort of, last 4 years we've finished 6th, 5th, 6th and 7th. We're currently 6th in La Liga. We play Barcelona tonight, 8 o'clock. Just won 6 on the trot, including 2-1 victory against the other lot last weekend. First time since 2018 we beat them in La Liga, and it just looked mega last weekend. Sid Lowe, I would urge anyone to look at Sid Lowe's report in The Guardian on Monday. He'd gone. And he talks about, like, you know, there were 45,000 people in Seville. It was unbelievable. But this was Saturday, and the game was Sunday. So they both held open training events at the Benito Villamarin for Betis. 31,000 there on the Saturday watching the train. It's just mega. Only 15 at the other place. So we won that too. By the same ratio, roughly. Yeah, so that's good. We're in the last 16 we made the last 16 Europa League, 21-22, 22-23. Currently playing in the conference quarterfinals. We've got a team from Poland, Jagiellonia or something like that, I don't know. Never heard of them, as you can tell. Play them Thursday. So we will see. It's been wonderful. Through the Penna, I've been able to get tickets for a lot of these sort of European games. So I've seen them away at Celtic and Rangers and United. Went to Ghent a couple of months ago. It's just mega. Rightio. Famous players quickly. A few of them. Louis Dussol. He spent first 7 years of his career at Betis, eventually sold to Madrid. Di Stefano called him the postman because he always delivered, you know, in terms of... So having Di Stefano saying that, it's a pretty decent effort in my book. Rogelio Sousa Ramirez, full 16-year career at Betis. Turned down moves abroad or to other clubs. Famous for scoring 10 Olympic goals. Now, that was a term I'd never quite heard of, but those are goals direct from corners. Apparently, he scored the most goals direct from corners out. The guy who's closest to him was Uruguayan Alvaro Recoba, who'd only scored 6, so decent effort again. Kino, He was a son of a poet, but he didn't know it. He was a sort of he was a leftist politician. Later on, he became president of the Spanish Players Union. Played for Betis, Valencia, Cadiz. Gordillo, he was pretty good. He played Betis and Madrid. In the France Football conducted a Player of the 20th Century, consulting former Ballon d'Or winners about Players of the Century. Gordillo finished in 15th place, a place below George Best, place above Bobby Charlton, pretty decent company. The only Spaniard who was above him was Di Stefano, finished 4th. I always thought he was Argentinian, but he was. He played for Spain 31 times, Argentina 6 times, and Colombia 4 times. So it was a decent effort as well, wasn't it? So, but he was a proper player. Esniola, we've talked about. He was a keeper who twice pulled it back in the 77 Cup final. Peter Barnes. He'd signed from our other lot. Didn't really speak the language and struggled. He only played 1 season, only started 12 games, but thought I'd throw that in as a bit of, sort of, we all know him. Finidi George. Those of a certain age can probably remember Finidi. Starred for Nigeria in the 94 World Cup. Played in the great Ajax team, and I would urge anyone to look at that team. That was a proper team. He then came to Betis, also played at Mallorca, and he played for an English team as well. Anyone know who he played for? Ipswich. For 2001-2003, scored 7 goals in 35 games. The one who you probably all were expecting me to say was Danielson. He was signed for a world record, 21.5 million. He'd been spotted in Le Tournoi, if you can remember those games back ages ago, in 97 as a 19-year-old. His release clause was 261 million. He was given an 11-year deal. Part of the signing was, because he was only so young, he stayed back at Sao Paulo for a year and then came to us. It's fair to say he probably didn't quite produce. In his first season, didn't score in his first 26 games, and he only scored twice all season. He ended up playing 196 games, scoring 14 goals, left in 2005 after the Copa del Rey final. But the whole world knew about Danielson because of the world record and everything. Joaquin, he's just an absolute god. So he's got the joint record, 622 La Liga appearances with Zubizarreta, the goalkeeper. He did play for 2 years in Italy as well, so talk about longevity. On the 8th of December again, still wasn't all through when I said 8th of December again. Oh. He scored an 18-minute hat-trick against Athletic Club, the oldest player to do so in La Liga. And on the 15th September 22, he scored a belter against Ludogorets in the Europa League, again making him the oldest player to score a goal in the Europa League. He retired at the end of the 2022-23 season. Mark Bartra perhaps isn't a famous player that my Spanish friends would expect me to say, but he's Spanish in an English context in terms of, if I asked a group of people, Gareth Bale scored a couple of worldies, you would probably say he scored 1 in the European Cup final, Champions League, and 1 he scored against Real Madrid, and for Real Madrid against Barcelona, when he went flying up the left wing, round off the pitch. You can come again, Mike. Yeah, off the pitch, And the guy who went round was Mark Bartra. So, Benito Villamarin, as I said, he was the president, sorted out, got us through some difficult times, bought the stadium named after him. Lopera, right here, he's the guy I could spend all day talking about. He ended up buying the controlling 54% of the shares when there was something about financial dealings, etc. The Spanish set up about autonomous sporting groups. Betis somehow ended up having to provide a lot more money than anyone else did. Lopera came in, saved the club, but he was a bit of a character. He built a bust of himself, put it into the president's box, director's box. He tried to make the other lot's president sit next to it, and he said so. He was finally, right here, what else? He made his fortune selling second-hand TVs at huge rates of interest. And he drove around Seville picking up stray dogs. So, it's weird. Phil Ball, in his book Morbo, that's a great book on Spanish football and everything, described him as an unbalanced man despite the chips on both shoulders. Yeah. So there was a story about it. The lights went out at Villamarin, so before the game against Real Madrid, lights went out, generator kapunked. They got a second generator working, the backup one working. Got through to the 43rd minute of the game. Betis won up, and the lights went out again. They ended up having to cancel, sort of postpone the game. And there was all sorts of discussions about the replayed game, whether it started 0-0, blah, blah, blah. Michel Salgado, who was the Real Madrid right back, said in the end, we relented, we were happy to start in the 43rd minute because we couldn't stand Lopera just in his moaning and everything. So he was a right character. Apparently, rumour has it, engineers were called to sort out the first generator, but he tried to charge them for access. They said, sod it, because it was a match. Said, you've got to buy a ticket. They said no, and then the second one went. So he was also, famously, Halloween party in 2001. Benjamin Zaradona, one of the players, organised a Halloween party. It was expecting 30, 200 turned up, and probably one of the players who wasn't invited got in touch with the parents, said they're all getting, all having a party. It was past 4:30 in the morning. Lopera phones up Wande Ramos, the manager, said your players are all on the, and they all went round to kick him out of this party. Now, and apparently Denilson was halfway out of the window. They're all trying to jump out of windows, not being caught. Denilson was halfway out and couldn't get any further. So, Lopera is a character, and anyone wants to read up on him, that'd be fantastic. It's a good read. Betis and City, so alike. We have the gift that keeps on giving. So City, Tuesday night, Port Vale, in the pub, talking with some Port Vale fans. They go, we haven't won on a Tuesday night for 3.5 years. And you just go, and you know what's happening. Yeah? I take you back to 2001-2002 season, Stockport. Stockport season started like this. Loss, 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 draw, draw, loss, draw. They came to our place, and 5 minutes from the end of time, the worst song I've ever heard is We Want 5. So we lost it 4-2, lost the other game 1-0. They got relegated. They only lost 6 games all season, 2 against us. So Betis are a bit similar to that. So I said earlier on, we're 6th at the moment. We played Valencia in week 14. They were bottom at the time. We got beat 4-2. They'd actually played a couple of games less than everyone else in any case, but they'd only scored 7 goals at that point after the floods. So actually the whole of Spain was scoring was cheering on every 4, all the 4 goals. We've been beaten by Valladolid, who were also bottom at the time, and we've been beaten by Alaves, who are currently 4th from bottom. So, yeah, we are the team that you really do want to play if you really do want to win. What else is there? I talked about Penibética de Londres earlier on. No estamos en casa pero si en familia. So we might not be at home, but we are family. It's great, wonderful. I would urge you, if you are down in London, Betis are playing, get out to Sheephaven Bay, go and see the president, Antonio, and you can be 74 quid less well off within 5 minutes. It's wonderful. Catch them on Twitter, Facebook. You know, they are proper good. Hymno de Betis, Real Betis, it's wonderful. And if I'd done my job properly, I'd have pressed a button, you'd have heard it. Unfortunately, I could sing it, but there's only a few. I'm not that good at the Spanish, as you can probably tell. And there's a couple of lines that I'll leave it to you to understand which lines I know very well. There are lines that go, Betis, Betis, Betis. I'm very good at that. The rest of it, I'm a bit. But it's all about cannonballs and everything, watching it. Oh, it's wonderful. And if you see it live, it's outstanding. Yeah? It's proper good. So I urge you to go to the city of Betis. Thank you for listening. If you fancy a good read, Colin Miller and the Frying Pan of Spain is there. Spanish Football Podcast. Wonderful listen each week. You can pay a bit more for it as well. I do urge you to go to the city of Betis. It is beautiful and hot, although I did see a tweet on our WhatsApp group. It's chucking it down there at the moment, which is most unreal and has been for the last month. So global warming, and even though Trump reckons it's not happening, it is happening, because even Seville's getting some rain and it doesn't get that often. One thing, Benito Villamarin, having urged you all to go there, it's getting knocked down at the end of the season. We're going out to Cartuja, which is the third of the stadiums there for 2 years, but then we're back at the rebuilt Villamarin in 2 years' time. So if you do fancy it, then I would urge you to do it. Okay, I think that's about all. And apologies for going on. Okay.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. El otro lote, that's the other lot in Spanish apparently. I've just looked on Google.
Good lad, good lad.
If you've enjoyed today, Keith does have a lot of Spanish meats and cheeses at unreasonable prices. If you feel really pushed to eat Spanish cheeses. We may well have a talk before the Fleetwood game, but I think we're going to just wait a week or two and just see how things go a little bit and just see how things are. But thank you, Rob. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is it okay? Thanks, Keith. Thank you.